And just know that you are the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And just know that this is the Hitman, and you're watching Papa Pete.
Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. Papa Pete, the old ass gamer. If you haven't grown up by the age of 50, you don't have to.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Wrestling Video Games and Retro Adventures. How you doing, Jeff?
Good. How you doing, Pete?
Good. It's a nice warm Tuesday night here. What's it like down there?
Warm.
Warm.
It's nice out though. Yeah. We had a lot of rain lately.
Have you? We're supposed to get a couple days. It's not going to hurt anybody's feelings because it's been a pretty dry spring summer so far. So we're a little worried going into August. Get some water down.
Who's in your basket there, Pete? That's not Coco.
That is Coco.
It is Coco?
Yeah, Coco's here.
Ah.
The back of her head is a little dark there, but she's hanging out.
Yeah.
She comes in and scratches the side of my chair until I lift her up into the basket. She'll probably get down here shortly. But we got the chat. We got Lance, Junebug. How you doing? Sav at her back. Beautiful. Who's that Jeff M guy? I don't know. There you go.
Wrong
Back in the chat. Right on. So, kind of we missed last week. I was away on vacation. You were in the middle of your move and stuff and getting your own show going. So we took last week off. I was out of town. And but man, so we just went off kilter week so that with wrestling, the wrestling show, Wrestling Video Games and Retro Adventures. But that's good. It's sort of a sad news, though, to pick it up. A couple things happened in the last week that guys we talked about that I thought, well, let's just talk some old WWF stuff and pay tribute to, of course, as you may or may not know, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff passed away yesterday. And of course, we talked about him quite a bit recently, huh, Jeff?
Yeah, we did a show. I can't remember if we showed the video. Because I watched this interview with Paul Orndorff. It wasn't in the past year. I mean, I watched it recently, but I think it was recorded maybe 2 or 3 years ago.
Gotcha. Yep.
And it was really interesting. He wasn't suffering from any dementia or anything at that point. He still had all of his faculties, and he was just telling old wrestling stories about how he grew up, how he got into wrestling, and what he thought of other wrestlers. And it was interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, Steamboat. I always liked him. I thought he was a heck of a wrestler.
Yeah, he quite a physique, he was known for being so damn tough, eh?
Yeah, he was tough.
And he worked a power plant. I'd always forget the name of it, but it's the WCW power plant. And he ran that for them, I think, for quite a few years through the 90s. Well, through the 90s, I guess they were done by the 2000s, 2001. But he was pretty big in their realm. And I don't know. It was just really sad because remember we had watched that video of him not in very good state of mind, right? But with his son.
That was like a week before he died, or maybe less.
Well, I'm not sure if it was the last one of these shows we did or the one before, but it was so recent, it's crazy. And of course, we always talk about Mr. Wonderful because he was so huge in the 80s, right?
Yeah.
He wrestled around your area too, as well, right?
Oh yeah, that's. When I think Paul Orndorff, I think NWA because I used to watch him so much in St. Louis.
Yeah.
It's like that with a lot of these wrestlers. Like Terry Funk, we're going to talk about, who was in WWF, but I always think of him as NWA as well because he was there for so long.
Yeah.
Is Paul Orndorff? Piper's Pit. Nice shirt, Pete.
Yeah.
Is Paul Orndorff in the WWE Hall of Fame?
He is.
Okay.
He is, and that was sort of let alone the question. I'll ask you this right now because it's something we talk about. Can you tell me without looking it up? Anybody in the chat too? Hey, Tyler, good to see you, man. R.I.P. Mr. Wonderful. Absolutely. I really liked him. Without Googling it, how many WrestleManias was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff in? You think of it too, Jeff. I mean, I don't know if you looked this up or not. I just looked it up. It's pretty much what I remember, but there's a bit of a twist there too.
Around 5? Seen the first 5 or so?
Anybody in the chat have a guess? It's not 5. Because, you know, he was so prominent there for a while, right? But then he jumped over to WCW fairly early. But remember, he had that big, massive feud with Hogan as well, right? Partnership with Hogan and then feud with Hogan. But yeah, we do to play the Jeopardy theme while I'm asking. The actual answer is a bit of a trick answer. He was in WrestleMania 1, of course, which everybody remembers, right? Because he was partners with Roddy Piper, and in that,
he's the one who got pinned.
He's the one who got pinned. Exactly. Let's see. Yeah, he was prominent. And then in WrestleMania 2, he was also there, but he fought Don Morocco with the first match of the card in Long Island. And I don't even really remember that one. WrestleMania 2 is not one of my favorites, but I don't remember it. Mama C's. Okay, I'm going to say right now, and I didn't give her the answer. Mama C is right.
Wow, very
He's
good.
the first one to say it right. And I'm going to give Ty Lord bonus points as well, because truth be known, 1 and 2 were the only wrestling appearances he made. And then in WrestleMania 21, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And that's how I sort of got on this tangent, because you asked if he was in the Hall of Fame. So he did make a WrestleMania appearance, right? That's kind of cheating, but
yeah,
but he was there for that. So that would have been in.
So after the second WrestleMania, is that when he left the WWF?
Yeah, it must have been right around there. But I'm thinking, okay, he was really prominent. Remember at the end of WrestleMania 1 how they left Mr. Wonderful in the ring?
Oh yeah, remember he got up and because he was like out on the floor on the mat for a while. Then he popped up. He's like running around like Tasmanian Devil, trying to figure out what's going on. And
yeah, and you remember Mr. T was trying to shake his hand, and Hogan was trying to, but it was like Mr. Wonderful didn't know what to do because everybody had left him there, and I think that was his face turn.
Because Bob Orton and Piper both walked out on him, right?
That's right. I got to look something else up while we're talking, but that was his face turn, really. If I could find out. And then he became a good guy, battled against Piper and stuff, and that's when he started fighting with Hulk Hogan against Piper and Orton. And Piper and Orton really were the main ones.
Mm-hmm.
But he was tagging up. Mr. T was long gone, right? Mr. T was one shot. He was out, which was fine. That was exactly what he was there for. And then they took that main event, and they brought Orndorff over to turn him face and paired him with Hogan with Hogan, and then teamed those two, put them against what am I trying to say? Piper and Orton. Okay, and that was the big top-notch rivalry for a long time after that. But okay, what do I want to see?
So Lance said that Orndorff was still with the WWF during WrestleMania 3 and 4. I wonder why he wasn't in it.
You know, if you would have asked me, I would have thought, yeah, he probably was there, but I can't remember the match. And I did look in ProWrestlingHistory.com if anybody's into like things that are going on. You go into Pro Wrestling History, and it has a list, every card, every person in every WrestleMania. And you can just type the last name, do a find, and you'll find every spot where they are and who they fought. So, and he's not there. I don't know why he wasn't. Could have been injured, right? Let me check the dates on this.
Yeah, other than injury, it's kind of hard to believe why they wouldn't have him in there. He's such a top-notch wrestler.
Because not long afterwards, I think it was sort of, I don't know if it was during a Saturday night's main event, but there you go, was on October 4th, 1986. So you're talking not very far after WrestleMania 2. So WrestleMania 2, if he's fighting Don Morocco, he's a face, because Don Morocco was definitely a heel at that time. Around WrestleMania 4, Don Morocco turned face a little bit when he paired up with Superstar Billy Graham as his manager. That Morocco did a face turn there for a while, but Morocco was always a big heel. So he was a moderate face, I'd say, Orton at that time. Hogan was fighting Bundy. So after he was done with Bundy, they partnered up and they were fighting Piper and Orton. And that was in it says here, October 4th, 86, he turned his back on Hulk Hogan that night. And then it was a Saturday night's main event not long afterwards that they had the big battle. It was a steel cage match, Mr. Wonderful versus Hulk Hogan in the big blue bar steel cage, which everybody remembers. It was so much better than the screen ones, right? So that was after that. That was pretty much the end for Mr. Orton or Mr. Wonderful in the WWF.
I'm just reading about. Apparently, he had he had a bit of a feud with Adrian Adonis for a while. Who's another character?
Oh yeah, when was that? What year? What can you tell? What time it was, or was it right in WWF?
I'm not sure when that is. This is after 86, so maybe 80, either in 86 or 87, I guess.
Okay, yeah. Well, Adrian Adonis, as much as he was kind of a clown with the flower shop and all that, he really was. He could get some heat, man. He knew how to get heat. Really talented wrestler.
I liked Adonis way better when he had the leather jacket and the hat. He was a tough character himself. Did
he wrestle around where you were? Do you remember him when you were a kid?
No, not at all. Matter of fact, we first got cable like early 80s, and we had WOR.
Right.
That's when I started watching WWF. And I saw him for the first time. I was like, I've never seen this guy. Yeah, Terry Funk, Tyler, he's still with us. He's wasn't it just announced that he's ill? He's like
yes, it was. Terry Funk has not passed away, but he's suffering quite badly from dementia. And I first heard about that. You know, we're going to talk about Terry Funk a little bit in a minute, but I first sort of realized it was as bad as it was when Mick Foley actually put out a tweet. I'm going to try to find it, and I'll put it up. I'll read it on the screen or something in a few minutes. But Terry Funk has not passed away. Okay, it's just tribute to him because, like, you know, I had said last week that news came out first that we were gonna do something on the show and talk about Terry Funk a little bit because I mean, Terry Funk did some amazing things in his career with as little exposure in WWF as he had. Like, he was just territories in Texas, in Japan as well.
Well, he was huge in Japan, wasn't he?
Oh yeah. So you know, I said, we'll do just a tribute to talk about Terry Funk for a bit during the show. And then yesterday, we had talked so much about Mr. Wonderful over the last month and a half, 2 months, that after his passing yesterday, I said, okay, well, we'll talk about Mr. Wonderful at the same time.
Terry Funk was well known in Japan for those crazy matches. What were they called? Death matches, or I forgot what they were called.
The death matches, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Terry and Mick Foley and Terry Funk were partners in crime forever. Terry Funk really helped Mick Foley a lot because that was Mick Foley's just his the way he did business, right? They were they were hardcore wrestlers, and so they went right through. Right back to the WWF when they did the man. Well, hold on. He was Cactus Jack with Chainsaw Charlie, correct? I think Mankind was pretty much. It was one of the stages where Mankind was in the background. And
Mick Foley, he was Cactus Jack, I think, for most of his career. I mean, especially before he got to WWF or WWE, whatever it was at the time. But he was Cactus Jack, I think, that whole time.
Oh, maybe we should try to find that anyway. So back to Orndorff really quickly. If you get a chance to watch something with the story of Saturday night's main event and the story of Orndorff turning on Hogan, and then I believe with Bundy, and I can't remember exactly how it went, and then at a later Saturday's main event, it's considered one of the best Saturday main events that there ever were, the best matches on it. Hogan and Paul Orndorff in the blue bar steel cage. And then very shortly thereafter, I want to find Lance had a comment on here and said that, I think I did post it for a little bit, but according to Lance, Orndorff and McMahon had a falling out when Orndorff was offered a movie role. And probably McMahon wanted a cut, and Orndorff didn't want to give him a cut because he got it because it was Paul Orndorff, not because he was a WWF wrestler. That would be a guess, but and because they all do movies now, right? But I'm sure WWF gets a cut to start. So that's when you saw him disappear, and he wasn't around come WrestleMania 3, which was only 87.
Salvatore mentioned a couple of Roddy Piper movies. I wanted to write those down. I'm going to want to check him. I've never seen any of his movies.
You have not seen They Live?
No.
Really? Oh, interesting movie. John Carpenter movie, yeah? On that note.
Yeah, anything with sci-fi. Lance also said that Orndorff helped to mentor Steve Austin. That's interesting. I don't think I've heard.
Without a doubt, yeah.
I don't think I've heard Steve Austin mention Paul Orndorff's name like in all those Broken Skull sessions.
No, I know that's
if he would have been, still healthy, he would have been a great guy to have on that show to interview.
Hey, one more Twitter. Just notice your post in there. Let's see. Yeah, Cactus Jack. With Foley, though, remember he was Cactus Jack. Mick Foley's character was Cactus Jack. When he came to WWF, they couldn't have him. They wouldn't let anybody keep their old personas when they came to WWF. So that's when they created Mankind. But then after Mankind became so huge, and they went back to the Mick, they sort of went to the Mick Foley, and all of a sudden Cactus Jack seemed to be okay to use again for a while. So even in WWF, after he had been Mankind for 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it was, all of a sudden he became Cactus Jack. And actually, to tell you the truth, I think he became they started telling about his backstory first. And when he was a kid, like I'm talking a teenager, the clips you see of Mick Foley jumping off his roof, you seen that, Jeff?
Yeah.
On the mattresses and stuff, right?
Yep.
And as a kid, Mick Foley called himself Dude Love. So that's when the WWF took hold of that and called him Dude Love. And I guess it's like, well, if we can call him Mankind and we can call him Dude Love, let's go for the trifecta. Here's Cactus Jack. So all of a sudden you had all three characters, which sort of culminated in that Royal Rumble appearance where he actually comes down to the ring 3 times, each is a different character.
Oh, that is so funny.
Simply classic. But yeah, Cactus Jack was far and away Mick Foley's main persona. Yeah.
Pete, look at Lance's last comment.
Oh, right here. Austin talks about Orndorff during an interview with Piper on a podcast. Okay, Piper calls Orndorff Oscar because he was always grouchy. Man, yeah. Can you imagine, oh my God, I got to see that, Lance, because I'm just sitting there imagining those two guys. I don't know who in the chat have watched these Broken Skull sessions. Jeff and I were talking about one the other day, Sunday night. I sat up, and one that I wasn't all that interested in because I just didn't know was with Charles Wright, the Godfather. And it is on in May, and I just hadn't watched it. And the other night it came on after the end of the Jericho one, which was fantastic. Watch that. Chris Jericho. Oh my God, it's amazing. The Godfather one came on, so I was watching. So I sat there and watched it, and it didn't take me 5 minutes. And it's like I learned so much about this guy, and not only about his character, which the character was the character. He had so many different characters over the years coming up through when he got to WWF, but they told his backstory and they talked about his actual, relations with the other wrestlers in the back. He was very good friends with guys like The Undertaker and Yokozuna, and there's a whole bunch of them, but especially The Undertaker. And it was amazing to listen to some of the stories he told. And I gained a lot of respect for the Godfather that day because he was really his influence on the business was more outside the ring than inside the ring. Really, do you know what I'm saying, Jeff?
Yeah, I was the same way with I mean, I've heard of the Godfather, but I really have never seen him fight. I mean, I wasn't watching wrestling during his whole career.
Yeah, and
so I didn't have much interest in him, and I went ahead and watched him because you said how great it was. So I was watching it, and yeah, he was such an interesting guy. I mean, all the different characters he went through before he got to the Godfather.
Yeah.
And then he said his wife is the one who came up with the whole idea.
Yeah.
The idea, what to do, what to wear.
And did you catch the story at the end? He said his biggest regret in wrestling is being in the Hall of Fame. And all he wanted to do was he wanted to talk about his grandson. He wanted to thank his wife for everything she'd done for him for 20 years, coming up with the name and everything. And he said, I started off with the grandson and got all this crazy reaction. He went off on a tangent with it, and he did everything else, thanked everybody, went off the stage, took one step off the stage, and went, oh, shit, I forgot to mention my wife.
That had to be a rough ride home.
Oh, yeah. Did you read this Savater's comment here? You have to have heard this quote before.
Yes.
Yeah, that's from They Live.
Oh, I've seen that video of him. I didn't know that's what it was from.
That's what it's from. Yeah, yeah. Phenomenal movie. I got the DVD, or not Blu-ray. I got the DVD in there somewhere. And I know what I was looking for too. I can't multitask well. I get looking for something, then I can't talk. I was showing you guys some of these pictures earlier, but
Papa Shango.
let's see.
I like how Godfather said that that character was more him than any other character, which is kind of funny. I guess he just means because he likes just kind of being outlandish. And you know what he said that was fascinating? He said he was never told what to say. Not one word was ever written for him for any of his promos.
True. Yeah.
And they didn't know what he was going to say. He just did it. And I was like, that's why it was so interesting. I mean, today when they script everything, it's like, oh, it's boring.
You're absolutely right. This is not signed by see if I can get it. This is not signed by Roddy Piper. Did it come up? It's up there, right? Yeah. But it is signed. That's John Carpenter's signature in the middle there, actually. That's the movie poster. Yeah. I sent a few to John Carpenter to sign. Anyway, that's the movie there. So if you ever get a chance to see that, Jeff, absolutely. Absolutely. It's
look that up tonight. I got to watch that.
Not a difficult watch. Like, it's an hour and a half long, but it's got the longest, I swear, it's the longest fist fight scene over nothing I've ever seen in my life. It's classic.
Well, when you tell me it's about an hour and a half, then you got my attention because I like short movies.
It is a short movie, and it is a, I'll call it a B movie. It's a little bit above it because John Carpenter's a little bit above that, but it's certainly not an incredibly great story. It's just fun to watch, and the little elements in it are entertaining as hell, even though the story overall probably isn't all that great. Bad ending, bad this, bad that, but just fun from the first minute to the last minute about stupid little things to do. And Roddy Piper is friggin' extraordinary because he is Roddy Piper in the movie. Like, his character is just, he acts like Roddy Piper, and that's what we love about him, right?
Piper was another guy who you didn't even have to watch him wrestle. You could just listen to him talk. He was so good, so entertaining.
Oh, precisely. I can't imagine anything was scripted for him either, do you think?
I can't. No, there's no way.
No. Yeah, Zayla, one of the best fight scenes on film, exactly. I can't remember, was it Ving Rhames? Is that the guy's name, the actor he fights? Roddy Piper versus Ving Rhames. I don't know why I think it's Ving Rhames. I'm not sure. Big stars. Oh, I know. I agree 100%. Vader, the Mastodon. For Pete's sakes, the man's freaking internationally famous as Big Van Vader, and they want to change him to the Mastodon. Why don't they just put a big bullhead on him, call him the Minotaur 2? My God, it's some of the things. Do you remember the Minotaur? I saw something on that recently. The Minotaur, one of the worst gimmicks ever.
I never
stand out, brought him to the ring, and then they didn't realize once he got to the ring, he didn't fit through the ropes. The head was too big.
I never saw see him wrestle when I was happy, but I have seen videos like one of these wrestling channels where it's like worst characters of all time, and he's always in that. Precisely.
Yeah.
It's funny, those wrestlers, man, if they get in with the WWF, it's basically they'll just do whatever McMahon wants just so they can get their foot in the door, and hopefully if they don't like that gimmick, something else will come along.
What did you think about Charles Wright as well? He's on there saying, I did that for a while, and I wasn't that funny anymore, so I just looked and said, time for me to go home. And he'd leave. And a year later, they just call him up and say, we got this for you. And he'd come back and do it again for a while.
I guess he was well off with money.
Well,
that's hard to do if you don't have if you don't have money. It's hard to turn down something like that or walk away.
He kept saying he had the connections and stuff. Well, let's go to Vegas. I'll make $3,000, $4,000 a week in Vegas.
He said he was making
bouncing.
He was making over $50,000 back in the 80s. So that was good money back then.
Oh yeah.
Jeez.
Papa Shango. Oh, here, what's read on a Orndorff YouTube doc. He tells a story traveling with Piper. Took almost an hour to go 5 miles from airport to hotel. Piper got Paul angry, and Paul ripped steering wheel off the rental. Yeah, I can imagine. You could see that temper in him, couldn't you? Just his demeanor.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the that's that YouTube documentary I was watching, where it was a few years ago. I mean, Orndorff was, he was old, but he was still with it, and he was telling a great story. That was one of the ones he told, and I could just see him ripping a steering wheel off.
And capable of doing so too, for Pete's sakes.
He was cranky because he would talk about guys he worked with, or even talk about newer guys who he couldn't stand guys who couldn't wrestle. You could tell he just came around and said he just didn't like it at all. He thought it was terrible. These people, like wrestlers who wouldn't come in and actually do anything.
It was kind of weird
and throw punches.
Most of the guys who weren't good wrestlers were most of the guys who weren't good wrestlers were the big bodybuilder types. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Typically, that's the truth. They were there because of the bodybuilding, and they couldn't wrestle. They just had the physique. He had both. Paul Orndorff had both. There was no better physiques around than him.
No, he could wrestle too. That was the thing. He kind of crossed over from old school wrestling, where you had to know how to wrestle, to the newer style that's more kind of flamboyant and showy.
Open a new tab. We getting it? Yeah, there we go.
I don't see anything yet.
There we go. Okay. So, and by the way, thank you, Ty Lord. Keith David is the guy that Roddy Piper fights. Keith David, I always remember because David Keith is who I can picture Keith David like they are completely different people. Anyway, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, Orndorff in that documentary talked about his life growing up. He had a pretty horrible life growing up.
Okay.
And he said he fought all the time, and when he started working out, he just took it to a whole new level. He pretty proudly said he thinks he probably worked harder than anyone else.
Well,
as far as like working out goes and wrestling. And I mean, obviously you can just look at him and see, well, he wasn't taking many days off. That's for sure.
No, you're friggin' right.
Orndorff wasn't that tall though, was he?
I don't know that he was 6 foot. They all exaggerate their height, right? Hulk Hogan goes 6'9". I think he's probably 6'3", 6'4". I mean, they're big men, but they all exaggerate their height. So I imagine he was probably built at 6'1". He was probably 5'11", 6 foot. I mean,
right. Here it says he was built at 6 foot even.
Okay.
I bet he was a little bit under that.
Agreed totally. Yeah.
Wow, look, he was trained by Bob Backlund, Jack Briscoe, Eddie Graham, and Hiro Matsuda.
I don't know much about, you've seen that documentary. I have not seen a whole lot of info. I remember him wrestling. I remember watching his matches. I remember the stuff talking about. He was always involved with the power plant, and just was always sort of omnipresent in the wrestling business as a father figure almost to a lot of these younger people coming up through. He was the type of person, he did so much training and such, but I don't know his history. You're teaching me a lot, this stuff you're looking up.
Yeah, look for the on YouTube for a documentary with him. And what was he when he died? Was he like 71? He just died?
Yeah, something like 71 or 7. Yeah, I get mixed up. 75. No, that's another one. Charles Robinson died today, right? He was 75. So yes, I think Orndorff was 71 or 70 or 71.
Let's see. Yeah, he said he was 71. Boy, he looked way older than 71.
Well, yeah, I think the physicality of the whole situation, I don't know. It's just going to be hard on the body, isn't it?
This says he married in 1971, and it doesn't list like a divorce. That's very unusual for a wrestler.
Yeah, really. Yeah. I don't
know
know
if I've ever seen a wrestler who was just married one time.
Well, maybe not much is known about it. I don't know. I mean, yeah. Yes, he was pro football player for do you know who he played for, Jeff?
Did he make it to the NFL?
My understanding is some of the things that I've read, brief things that I've read, was that yes, he has. He did.
I actually thought he did with maybe the Falcons or something, but I'm not seeing it on his Wikipedia page here.
See if what I can find here.
I know he was a really good college football player.
If we can find anything on it. Oh, American professional wrestler best known for football career. I'm just clicking on a button that said football career, see if it actually comes up. University of Tampa, which was huge.
Yeah, he was from
selection of the Saints, but failed to pass the physical for NFL with both the Saints and Chiefs. He played for the Jacksonville Sharks of the World Football League in 1975. And after one season in the World Football League, he began training as a professional wrestler. So there you go. Yeah. There you go. So he was a pro ball player, but he didn't make the NFL. He didn't get an NFL career out of it. What do we got? Lance has got the info for us right here. During the 85 Piper Orndorff feud, they had a spot at house shows where they were pulled down the other's trunks and laid roll in the bank. Boston Garden shows on YouTube. There used to be some cool stuff at the Boston Garden, man. That old friggin' rickety building. I can remember watching a lot of matches from the 80s on Coliseum videotapes. Man, oh yeah, Boston Garden.
Speaking of house shows, remember Godfather? And that he said he used to do all kind of things during house shows when they weren't being recorded.
Yeah,
especially with his character, the Godfather. He would test stuff out, and he said they didn't even know what he was doing. He just did it. I think that's just so funny. The thing about it back then, so you're talking the 90s, there was nobody sitting in the audience with a phone recording what you were doing. So they could do whatever the places they wanted at house shows. Oh, yeah.
There was never any proof. Oh, Ty Lord. Maybe someday we'll have one of these shows and I'll just haul the videos out and just go through the different tapes I got. Because I used to imagine me collecting. Like Mama C she says I should find a hobby of collecting or something like that. I think she thinks there's too much space in this house and I need to put some stuff in it. But I have a lot of Coliseum videos. I used to buy them on eBay and such like that, or anywhere I could find them. I still pick them up. If I find them at a yard sale or something, which doesn't happen very often, I always buy them. And Coliseum videos were the absolute best. Did you ever rent those when you were a kid? I mean, I'm talking, this is when we were in our 20s, Jeff. Well, no, teens and early 20s maybe. Did you ever get into watching stuff like that, Jeff?
The wrestling videos?
Yeah.
No. I know you have a lot of them. I never did watch any of them.
There's just so many different. There's tapes on individual wrestlers, on managers, on events. It's like I don't know. I love Coliseum video right to this day. I think they're some of the best coverage, and it was pure '80s cheese too, like the way they presented it. Right.
I would love to see those videos now, especially when they focus in on one wrestler.
Uh-oh. I better watch out.
Oh, what happened?
I don't think she wants me to collect anymore. I got to find something else to collect once I get the Xbox games finished up. I don't know what I'm going to do. Uh-oh.
Oh, Tyler's parents rented them for him every week. That's awesome.
Oh, really?
I was just looking that up, Pete, about him in video games.
Yes.
And from what I'm reading, he was never in a WWE branded wrestling game.
Wow.
And it says that he hasn't even been in the Legends of WrestleMania game either.
There was an obscure old early computer game that I think was European only or something like that. That was the very first WWF wrestling game, which is almost like it had next to it. And then really the first WWF video game mass marketed was the Acclaim's WrestleMania for the NES, right? You remember that one? Mm-hmm. But it only had 6 wrestlers. And that was probably 86, 87, maybe even 88.
6 wrestlers. That seems
yeah.
small even by NES standards.
Oh yeah, it had Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, Macho Man Savage, Honky Tonk Man, Bam Bam Bigelow, and the Ultimate Warrior. Who was the sixth one? I can't remember. I had to check it out. But there's only 6. And it was not a good wrestling game. It was the very first wrestling game ever made, right? It was the first for all intents and purposes. And yes, there was this one other obscure one that came beforehand that I don't even know if it was licensed properly. But so that's after Paul Orndorff's time. Any other one he would be in would have to be WCW, to the best of my knowledge. Except for like the Legends series, which I have a couple of Legends ones, but I've not played them very much. I have it on the Xbox 360. I got it because I love the historic wrestlers like that. But truth be known, it wasn't all that great of a game. So
Tyler just mentioned Ted DiBiase, or otherwise known here in St. Louis as Ted DiBiase.
Ted DiBiase.
He is now he's on NXT. They just did the $1 million belt. Remember the one he used to have? He made. They brought that back, and they had a match for it. And
right.
DiBiase was sitting there watching the match go down. So it's interesting they brought him back.
That's so cool. That is so very cool. DiBiase was the 6th wrestler, not the Ultimate Warrior. That's what Tyler was trying to say. Ted DiBiase was that was what Ted DiBiase was. That was around WrestleMania 4, between 3 and 4. So you're talking 85, 86, 87 into 88. So there you go. It probably was 88 that WrestleMania came out for the NES.
DiBiase was a good wrestler.
Yeah.
I liked him.
Oh my God. So you imagine what wonder if he's still, what year was that again that he had the belt there?
For NXT?
Yeah, just last year, right?
No, it's current.
Oh, it's out there, right?
It was just like last month, or
oh my God,
I think it was in June.
You told me that story before, and I sort of didn't clue into the whole thing. I'm sorry, I was sort of looking at these other things.
Yeah, it's a current thing, and then I haven't seen all of it because I can't. I don't know why, especially with the Peacock. I don't understand how they do it. I always miss the shows, and then on Peacock they don't show them until like a month or 2 later.
Oh, okay.
Which is just crazy. It's like, why don't you just show it the next day? What's it hurt?
Yeah, really.
You know, I just ran into something really weird, and it involves Paul Orndorff.
Okay.
Did you ever hear this match? Was it June of 1986? So this would have been right after WrestleMania?
Yeah, WrestleMania would have been 1st of April, last of March. Yeah.
This was a tag team match. Hulk Hogan and Paul Orndorff versus the Moondogs.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I had no idea the Moondogs were still around in 86.
They were in and out, but now that you're saying that, one of the videos that I have, and it must have been oh God. I can remember watching as the build-up for the big turn against Hogan. It was Orndorff and Hogan getting ready to fight the Moondogs, and then they fought the Moondogs, and it seems to be Orndorff did something, Orndorff, I'm trying to say, sorry, did something, and ended up winning the match. I think he won the match for them, but did something against Hogan at the same time, and then won the match, and that was sort of like the hint of a turn. And then it went, and I can remember Hogan talking about their match against the Moondogs. What was it, Spot and Rex or something like that, wasn't it?
Yes, Spot and Rex.
Yeah, and then they were going, and they were going against, well, I believe might have been Bundy and Studd.
Well, there's a tag team for it.
That's who Orndorff and Hogan were going to fight, Bundy and Studd. And it was during the Bundy Studd fight that Orndorff ended up turning on Hogan. And then Hogan and Orndorff had a big series of battles for the belt. So, yes. So, in other words, yes, I do remember hearing about that it would have been 1986.
I've got to watch. The Moondogs were literally the first tag team. Very first time I watched WWF on WOR, I turn it on and I see the Moondogs wrestling. I'm like, what is this? I've never seen anything like it. These guys, the wild blonde hair, wearing jeans, and they bring in this bone and conks them in the head. I forgot who their manager was, but I was like, I'm not used to this kind of wrestling at all. It was just crazy. It was so cool.
I got to pull up their picture. Go ahead, keep going.
I was talking about the Moondogs. We talked about this once before, the Moondogs and the Wild Samoans, which I don't think either team were ever in WrestleMania, right?
No. Alpha and Sika, they were well before.
Were they still wrestling in '86? Because I thought the Moondogs were long gone by then too.
They may have been a little bit, but not much.
Because I would have liked to see the Moondogs versus the Wild Samoans in WrestleMania, and that would have been awesome.
I wonder if that ever happened. It probably did somewhere.
I gotta write that down. What a great!
That would be interesting. That's for sure.
Remember one of those last WWE pay-per-views? Alpha and Sika showed up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were standing there because it was Roman Reigns was fighting. Was it Jimmy Uso? Look at these guys. They got the rope for belts.
Yeah.
That bow. I just love the name, the Moondogs. I don't even know what that means.
Nobody did, I don't believe.
Look at these guys. What a great tag team, the Moondogs.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Now there's someone I've never seen anywhere. They were nowhere near NWA. I don't think.
I can't tell you about them. I know Solo. I don't remember, seriously. I don't remember ever watching them in a match.
Wait a minute. Tyler had said that Kamala faced one of the Moondogs. The Moondogs wrestled separately. I never saw that.
I'm looking to see. Oh, I seen Kamala. I like Kamala.
I thought he was one of the best wrestlers. You know what? The Godfather said something interesting, and I never thought about it, but I agree. He said he remembers facing Kamala in a match, and he said he's never seen anyone that stuck to his character like Kamala did. Like he really
is that right?
He was really into. I mean, he was like so focused on his character, and he really was. If you think back, because the Godfather said when he was wrestling as what was the voodoo guy's name?
Papa Shango.
Yeah. He said when he wrestled him as that Papa
Papa Shango.
Shango.
Yeah.
And he said he said it's so weird wrestling because Kamala would just get so freaked out by him, he'd kind of run around the ring. And he said, but that's exactly what his character would do. Because I've never seen anyone who just hung in there like just sold it like he did.
On that note, let's have a little tribute to James Harris as well, because I mean he just passed away about a year ago now too. Not very long. I think it was during COVID.
It was just was it 2020 or did he make it the 2021?
No, I think it was 2020, probably last fall. I could look it up. I was going to look up. Let's see.
I watched an interview with him, and he didn't make much money at all in the WWF.
No, he would fight in big main events as the heel, and they'd never pay him what he was worth.
And he said he didn't realize it till later on.
He'd be fighting somebody making like $150,000 for or whatever, and he'd make $5,000.
I think it hit him when he was wrestling Hogan, and Hogan said something about making sure he gets his money while he's hot. And so apparently Kamala was making jack squat back then. It was weird because obviously he wasn't happy about it, but in the interview, he wasn't like angry or anything. He was just really good natured about it. He was such a great character.
He had lost both of his legs to diabetes.
Yeah.
Towards the end of it, I know. I've always obviously talked a lot about autographs and stuff, how much I enjoy doing that. And I just don't know why I never did it, never set it down, because $20 bill and a couple pictures, I would have had his autograph too. And now I can't do that because I just didn't get around to it. You know what I mean? So it's too bad because he was a fantastic character and he's entertaining as hell. And he didn't have anything at the end of it, you know, of his lifestyle, so at his life. And so many of them don't in this business, right?
He was living in Mississippi where he grew up.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. He didn't have any money.
All right. Did you look it up before I look it up just when he passed away? Did you look it up?
No, I did not.
I'm just about to then.
But he told a story about how he hated Andre the Giant. Andre pissed him off. I swear he said when he would wrestle Andre the Giant, he had a gun under his like loincloth or whatever that was that he was wearing. He was ready to kill him if he had to. I was like, oh my God.
Wow.
Oh, Lance, yeah, I was thinking about that. I thought that was Jerry Lawler who came up with the Kamala gimmick.
Sugar Bear Harris. There you go.
That's a great name right there.
August 9th last year.
Mm.
Yeah.
But Jerry Lawler is quite a influential guy in wrestling, isn't he?
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to watch the show?
Didn't he come up with the Papa? I can't think of the last name. Shango.
Well, what they talked about that on the thing when they were coming. He was coming back as Papa Shango again, right after being gone for a certain amount of time. He was coming back as Papa Shango one more time, and Jerry Lawler did his mask and everything, and it was a really cool looking face paint. Right,
he's a really good artist. Have you seen some of his drawings?
Absolutely, yep. And I was going to get to it, and Vince changed his mind the day before he started. He was all done up in the costume and everything, had the photo shoot taken, and Vince changed his mind and brought him back as part of the Nation of Domination. But there's a show on A&E right now called Hidden or Looking for WWF Treasures or something like that. Just
I've seen that.
WWF Treasures. Fantastic show. I think I've only watched 3 of them. There's about 8. I got them recorded on the PVR. I just haven't watched them, right? But I did watch the Jerry Lawler one the other day. And it is exceptionally good. One of the treasures they search for is Andy Kaufman's neck brace.
I can't imagine that survived. I would think the last time he took it off, someone just threw it in the garbage can. I can't imagine anyone's like, hey, this is going to be a collector's item.
What you don't know is that, I think actually, yes, it was Ty Lord, but he had committed his comma at one time, gone back out, and they're bringing it back as Papa Shango again. I think that was the era. And they ended up bringing him back as comma again, kind of, but a different comma with the Nation of Domination instead of doing the Papa Shango again. But the face paint for the Papa Shango that Jerry Lawler did was he was a really cool looking character.
Oh, it was neat.
Anyway, sorry, I got off track. What was it? What were we talking about? Oh, about the neck.
The A&E show, yeah.
Yeah, so I can't remember exactly what I was saying. I can't multitask. I can't talk one thing and read the comments at the same time.
They found something. This like super fan of, I guess, Jerry Lawler. They found something in his house that they really liked. Was it his crown?
They did find
a cape. I can't remember.
They did find a crown and a cape. Yeah,
and they wanted to buy it off the guy, and he didn't want to sell it. And they made him an offer, and he asked for more. And eventually, I think he got money. And he also asked for Jerry Lawler to do a drawing for him right there on the spot.
That's right. Exactly. Yeah, you see it. Oh, what I was getting at was you're talking about the neck brace, right?
Yeah.
And what we didn't realize at the time, I mean, it was pre-internet era, and they could do whatever they wanted all across the country. Nobody'd ever hear about it unless you were there. So they had all kinds of neck braces. He was going all kinds of places with a neck brace on. So all they do was find one of the ones that he wore, right? There are all kinds of them out there. Well, there aren't all kinds of them out there, but there wasn't just one neck brace that was worn back in the late 70s, early 80s when he did it. There's probably quite a few out there.
Have you seen that Jerry Lawler Broken Skull sessions?
I have not.
Oh, you gotta watch it. He talks about Andy Kaufman, about how remember when he gave him that pile driver, and I guess it was in Memphis, and Kaufman was just like out cold. He wasn't moving.
Oh, I did. I think I did watch that one actually.
And
you told me about it awful clearly, but tell that story.
He said he wanted to go to the hospital, and they're like, he said, "Call me in the ambulance." And we're not calling the ambulance. It's $300 because they knew he was, he was just playing.
Yeah.
And so he told Lawler, he goes, "I'll pay for it." So they called an ambulance, took him to the hospital. He was in there for 3 days, all just for a bit.
That's Andy Kaufman. Have you ever watched the movie?
Hospital.
Here's the question to ask Jeff, and I know the answer is always no, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
Have you ever watched the movie Man on the Moon?
No.
That's the Andy Kaufman story, and it's not an easy watch either, but that stuff's all in there, and it's really quite interesting.
And I'm not a big Jim Carrey fan, so that kind of ended it for me. I didn't really want to watch him as Andy Kaufman.
True, yeah.
But then when I listened to Jerry Lawler on the Broken Skull sessions, I want to watch it even less because he said he was there at the movie trying to help them with the wrestling part, part of the story. And he said Jim Carrey wouldn't listen to him at all. So he just kind of did his own thing, and he was like, he was upset with it because it really wasn't exactly how it went down. So.
Agreed. Jim Carrey's going to do his own thing. And also Jim Carrey pissed off a lot of people making that movie. I'm trying to think. There is a documentary, I believe, on Netflix, and I can't remember what it's called. Lance, help me out. You know what this is called. It's a documentary about Jim Carrey in the making of Man on the Moon and how he was such a man. He was off the wall. He was, what do you call it? A method actor? Is that what you call it? Where they totally go into character and they don't come out of it for anything?
That's what Lawler was saying. He said he just wanted to punch him in the face. He couldn't stand him.
Yeah. And like when it came to Tony Clifton, he was Tony Clifton. Jim Carrey was Tony Clifton. And as irritating of a character as just like Andy was dedicated to it, Jim Carrey was dedicated to it. And just like Andy Kaufman was dedicated to any character he did, 100% from the second he started to the second it ended. I mean, he'd even fool his parents. People still to this day don't believe he's dead.
He on Taxi, he was playing. I can't remember which character it was, but he showed up on the set as that character, and he was talking to producers, and he was insisting on being hired as that character to play
Laka?
No, he came. Andy Kaufman came dressed as his character he did on the show a few times.
Tony Clifton,
but he wanted to play Louis' brother.
Okay,
but he wanted Tony Clifton to play Louis' brother, not Andy Kaufman to play his brother.
Right.
So when he would show up, everyone had to act like he was actually Tony Clifton.
Yes.
And what's hilarious is when you listen to the different actors from the show when this was going on, they all tell the same story of the day when he came in. He was completely crazy and he ended up getting fired. But they're just all, you could just see in their face. Even today, they just still can't believe it happened. It's so funny.
There's totally unique. There will never be another Andy Kaufman. Thank you, Luke. Hey, Luke Boudreau, what's going on?
Hey, Luke.
It's called Jim and Andy, and I did watch that. It's very, very interesting, and you could see where Jim Carrey would have infuriated everybody. Have you seen it, Luke? Do you like it? Do you like Man on the Moon? I do like it. I don't find it an easy movie to watch by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not light, that's for sure. But interesting as hell. Yeah.
Pete, Tylord mentioned something interesting.
Yeah.
He wants to know if we know why you really don't see pile drivers anymore.
Oh, yes. I did see that comment up in there, right there. And before I forget, Retro Tiburon. Thanks for stopping in, man. Right on.
Retro. Other than it seems pretty dangerous if you mess it up, but
yeah.
I mean, Undertaker did the Tombstone for years. I mean, it's basically a pile driver.
He and Kane had special permission to keep doing it. I don't know what Ty Lord's going to say, but if I was going to guess, do you remember the last big faux pas with the pile driver?
Well, I know, was it Owen Hart pile drived Steve Austin?
You got it.
And he got his head too low, and he actually did pile drive him right into the mat.
Oh, yeah, and friggin' screwed his neck up. So I don't know if that was the end of it or not, or something afterwards. So
yeah, he's right. You really don't see that move anymore.
Oh no, it's banned. It's a special permission. Kane and Undertaker were the only ones really allowed to do it without special permission. They can ask to do some of these moves, but they're not allowed to typically.
You know, if I was a wrestler, I wouldn't even want to do that move. It's too scary. I mean, you're only talking a few inches here. You got to have it just right.
No, you're absolutely right. I'm looking here. I'm looking at difference. I bet you they eventually bring back the.
Especially the.
Is that what you mean?
Now, is it banned just in the WWE, or is I haven't really noticed other wrestling like.
Well, no, it would be just WWE. I mean, it's not like there's an overall body to do it. It's just what the individual entertainment company decides to do, right? Rest assured, if you have a company that's trying to make a name for itself, it's going to allow everything. I'm sure that company that Nick Gage works for doesn't ban the pile driver, right?
Do you remember Pete Rose getting pile drived?
Yes.
Who did that? What wrestler?
Kane. Oh yeah. He had to run in with Kane. I don't know, 3 or 4 different times.
Would you, if you were Pete Rose, would you want to? I'd be too scared to do it. I mean, I'd be like, what if he messes it up? I could be dead or paralyzed. I don't even think I'd take a chance.
Well, I'm going to say this. He probably had a lot of faith in Kane, Glenn Jacobs, because he knew what he was doing. And it's friggin' Pete Rose. Is he really known for his good judgment?
No.
You know? Pete Rose could have had the world by the ass right now, and he's basically thrown it all away because he got to call his bookie, right? I mean, and you think what you want. I'm not saying that I think, he should be banned from baseball. I don't give a crap about that stuff. I still don't believe he bet against his team. He just had a weakness.
Oh no, he never bet against his team because they never even said he did, because he always bet for them to win. But of course, you still can't do that in baseball because then that affects how you manage the game. You know,
that's right.
So you can't do that. But it wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't throwing games. He was
right. Whereas the White Sox handled their throwing games.
But you know what's weird? It was as a matter of timing too, because he was already retired and he was a manager.
Yeah,
I guess he was a player manager then a manager, but he was retired. So let's say this didn't get found out until 6 years after he retired. Well, 5 years after he gets into the Hall of Fame. So what do they do with Pete Rose after he's in the Hall of Fame and they find this information out? You know, no one's ever been taken out of the Hall of Fame.
They haven't? Nobody's been taken out? No.
I think once you're in, you're in. So I don't know what they would have done with him.
Well, they would have had to leave him there, I guess. Yeah, I agree, Luke. Totally. Not my favorites either, but I could watch Man on the Moon right now, and I probably would get into that documentary right now if it was on there. And obviously, you made it home safe, so that's good. Met up with Luke here just about, last week? It was a week ago yesterday. We met up for lunch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you guys met?
That's the first time we ever met face to face. Yeah, he's actually from
crazy,
the same town that Mama C's from. Their Mama C
grew
up from 14 on. They live in the same little area, but he's been out west for a long time, so it was a great opportunity. We had a hell of a meal that day down in the beautiful Pointe de Chene Wharf in Shediac, New Brunswick. Actually, Pointe de Chene, New Brunswick, but that area, and had a really good meetup. Yep, he spoiled me again, which I'll reveal in an upcoming pickup video in a month or so when I get caught up on my pickup videos and my 125 videos of my Inti homebrew review videos. And anyway, thank you again.
Lance Jennings said Pete Rose also took Rikishi's stink face.
Oh my
I think I'd rather get pile drived. I think I'd take my chances on that one.
Let's see. I can't play a video of it because it'll get automatically banned. But I'm going to see if I can find a friggin' picture of Pete Rose stink face.
I would imagine there's a lot of wrestlers that were like, we're not doing that one.
Most of them seem to, though.
Who's Jerry Lynn? Retro Tiburon mentioned him. I don't know Jerry Lynn.
Shoot. Jerry Lynn was a lightweight. He was around for a long time in various organizations. He wrestled in the WWF briefly in the mid-2000s, I think.
Retro said he was in the ECW.
Oh, about that ECW times? That would be the mid-2000s.
Tyler said,
he was big in ECW, the real ECW. He was pretty big at that time coming up through. And I vaguely remember that, but not really, Retro. Oh, yes. Orndorff did do a jumping pile driver where he'd get the guy and he'd just jump right up in the air and come down, as opposed to just pivoting down like this. Orndorff would go whoop, bang, like that with the pile driver. Oh, yeah. I'm still trying to find this stink face. I just got to find a big enough picture here to show because it's classic. Let's see if this one comes out. Well, they're all friggin' animated GIFs. So I don't want that.
Yeah, this is an animated GIF here. Oh God, it's too horrifying to even show.
Oh, please. No, it's not. I get a good picture up here. I'm going to do it.
Oh.
But I'm not. It's not. Oh wow! It went to large. It didn't. Oh, there we go. Maybe that'll work.
Oh.
Maybe that'll work. No, it didn't work. One more time back. There we
That
go.
looks like a submission move.
We will. If we get it. Oh, what the?
So did Pete Rose have to do stuff like this just because he didn't get into the Hall of Fame?
Here we go. Oh. There it is. I think he had to do that stuff just because he needed the money at that point.
Yeah, I think he was out of money because he got banned from couldn't do anything with baseball.
Yeah. That is a major stink face right there.
Whew. I hope he got paid well for that one.
Yeah, really. Yeah, Jerry Lynn, but he did Retro. He was. I remember. Yeah, he was big in ECW, like in the both time it closed, right? 99, I think it closed, and but he did come to WWF for a while because I believe he's in some of the games, like maybe the original SmackDown game or a couple of the video games for the WWF in the early 2000s. But pile drivers, everybody did them, but it's got to be, it's just they don't do them anymore. Let's see. There. Okay.
I remember Harley Race trying to pull off a pile driver outside the ring on the concrete. Usually he'd get flipped over on his back whenever he tried to do that.
And one of the most infamous attempts at a pile driver. Do you remember in WrestleMania 3, Hogan versus Andre? And they're battling. They get outside the ring, and Hogan flips back the mat and says, "Oh my God, he's going to give him a pile driver." Can you imagine trying to give Andre the Giant a pile driver? You'd flatten yourself.
I don't even think it'd be physically possible.
Tyler, I really don't know what you mean by this comment, but I don't know. Bring out the tables. Jacqueline was quite a card. Jacqueline's the one who she was up on somebody's shoulders. I don't remember where it was, and the whole freaking shirt went flying. There's clips of that on the. She was. I can't remember what her real name was, but she was a good wrestler. Actually, very, very good wrestler. Tough lady.
Hey, someone mentioned earlier, it may have been Tylord or Lance, I can't remember, but that Ted DiBiase's parents both were wrestlers.
Yes, I did see that as well. It sort of slipped by. We were talking about other stuff, but that's pretty cool.
He was wondering if anyone else had done that. I can't imagine. I mean, that'd be really unusual, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I would think, because there aren't as many lady wrestlers.
There was a let's see. There was a Major League ball player was it his mom played professional baseball? I can't think of the guy's name. Yeah,
like in a league of their own.
Yeah, something like that. And I was thinking he might be the only major leaguer whose mom was in professional baseball.
Let's take a look, see what I can find.
I know he's in the National League, maybe the Astros.
It's amazing to think about it. Here we can look at all this stuff. Oh, let's type this in and see if we can find out. All of it. Wow. Casey Candell.
Yeah.
Casey Candell. His mother, Helen Callahan Saint-Aubin, and her sister, Marge Callahan, played for the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League, which was depicted in the movie A League of Their Own. Casey Candell. Last played in 1997. I remember Casey Candell. Did he play for the Expos at one time, maybe?
I think so.
I don't think I would have come up with that name without Googling it. Yeah, there is. I click on his name, and the Wikipedia picture is him in his Expos uniform. So, yeah, Casey Candell. Hadn't thought about him in a long time. He's 8 years older than us. 7 years older than us.
Well, I was trying to think. I'm like, because the League of Their Own, that time period for professional baseball wasn't that in the 40s?
Because it was during the war.
During the war?
Right? World War. Yeah.
And so I was trying to think, well, if she's 25 and say,
even let's say
45, make it simple. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I guess he would have had to been in the 80s. But there's a great quote from him. I remember this now. He was asked once if he got his baseball talents from his dad, and he goes, or no, from his mom. And he goes, no. He said, if I got my baseball talent from my mom, I'd be in the Hall of Fame.
One more tonight. I got Greystone Brewing Single Track Pale Ale, Fredericton, New Brunswick.
By the way, A League of Their Own is an excellent baseball movie.
I enjoy it very much. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of my favorite baseball movies.
Yeah.
Oh, you got your Expos mug right there.
Oh yeah,
Pete, what are you going to do if that logo ever starts to chip off and goes away?
Oh, I got to get Coco out of the basket before she has a header, and that would cost me $5,000 in vet bills with the side one. They're around up here still, the Expo stuff. This one came from a yard sale somewhere, frankly. So it's okay. I don't know if you may or may not have seen a video, but looking ahead, I have actually, I'll just try to do this, see if it works. Looking around. I got an Expos logo right over there on the wall beside my Bruins logo.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, and I would love to get more of those. It was at a permanent flea market type thing in St. John, New Brunswick, and there was a fella there who would do woodworking, and both of those logos they start off with a piece of plywood, and then he cut out each individual part, individually paint them, and place them all together. And they are amazing, and they're like $40 each, like depending on, like a Chicago Blackhawks logo, for example, was like $70. The Bruins one might be $50. The Expos one, which is actually only like 4 or 5 pieces, would be $40. Okay, but unfortunately, I haven't seen them there in a long time. It's been years since I've picked these up, but they are very nice. And he would do any team that you would want. You could get great Cardinals or Blues or any of those. They were just fabulous. Like you look at that from here, you couldn't even tell it's wood.
No, you can't. I thought it was like metal or something.
Right, and but they're made out of handcrafted wood, hand cut and painted, and they're amazing. So, yeah.
I thought that was always kind of a cool logo too.
I do too. It's the M and the E. Do you remember why they are called what they are called?
Wasn't there like an exposition there in Montreal?
World Expo. The World Fair was in Montreal that year. They built all the stuff and brought in the baseball team for the World Fair. And
the logo that looks like an M, it's basically an E, an M, and a B, right? Like,
yeah.
Isn't that Expos Montreal baseball?
Yep.
Except
Expos
like,
Montreal baseball, or baseball Expos Montreal. That it fit it all together. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yep.
Think Montreal ever get another team, Pete?
Well,
such a big city. You'd think they would.
It is a big city. It's 2.5-3 million people. The big difference between the Canadian cities of that size, with the exception of Vancouver and Toronto, because everything around Toronto is massive. Okay, but like you don't have to go very long before there isn't anything. You know what I mean? So everything's in the city, but it's fairly open all around. They should be able to handle it. When the Expos, I went to 6 Expo games the summer of '92 when I was doing some training up there. I was there for the entire summer. I was up in that area. And the first game I went to that year, there was 4,000 people at the game. It was like going to that Olympic Stadium. You'd have the whole place to yourself. You could sit in a section and be the only person. And I went to a game in August of that year, and there were 48,000 people in it. And the place was friggin' hopping, because that was when Larry Walker, Marquise Grissom, Delano DeShields, John Wetland were all coming up through, and the Expos all of a sudden went from who are the Expos to, oh my God, look at all these kids. This team's amazing. And when they made their run, they were building towards their run for the World Series that they should have had in '94. Anyway, point being is very fly-by-night support for that team where it was. Right? If the team was doing very well or doing well at all, they could definitely sustain it. But when it wasn't, man, there was nobody there. They just didn't support it. So will it have a team again? I'd love to see it have a team again, because I think they've learned their lesson. I think they will do things differently, and will support it, and we'll put it in a better location than where it is right now as well.
Well, plus you'd obviously get a much better stadium. It would be a true baseball stadium.
Yeah, and they build it down in the core of the city a little bit. Montreal is an island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River. Okay, basically, yes, it's not far off, but it is on an island. Okay, and basically, it's an island that's sort of shaped like a smile. Okay, light, and then it gets thick in the middle, and it goes right back in. So the river goes right along it. Okay, so the core of the city is at the base of the smile. Expo Stadium, Olympic Stadium, is sort of up in one of the corners of the mouth. Okay, so to me, I hop on the subway and it's 20-minute drive or 20-minute ride, and you're out there. But that's because I am where I am, where I travel an hour to go to the store, like if I want to buy anything important, right? So it doesn't mean anything to me. But when you're in the city like that, I guess it does mean something, and people won't travel out there to see it.
Well, it's a weird thing. Like here in St. Louis, St. Louis is right on the Mississippi River. Yeah, of course, right over the river is Illinois. But it's amazing the barrier that river is to people in St. Louis. People don't like to go over the river. Okay. Even if you live in the city and it's not that big of a deal, people just don't like to do it. So people don't really go in Illinois from St. Louis. It doesn't happen much. When the Cardinals are starting they're trying to get a new stadium years ago.
Right.
And things weren't going well because they wanted the citizens to pay for it.
Yeah.
And everyone just voted down, even though baseball is like the big thing here.
Brother Mike.
Even we wouldn't put up with paying for their stadium. So they threatened to move to Illinois, and everyone's like, go nuts. You're not going to have anyone there. And they knew it. So they eventually backed down and they built the stadium themselves.
Called their bluff, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Like, no one's going to Illinois. Everyone knows that. I don't think it's Illinois, but it's that bridge. I don't know what it is, but people here don't like to go over the bridge.
Wow. I could never personally like understand the argument that we need a downtown ballpark in Montreal to get support, but like you said, it's a different perspective. When you live in the boonies like I do, and the nearest baseball game to go see a Major League Baseball game is a 6.5-hour drive, having it out the edge of town doesn't really matter to me. But I guess it does to when you're used to having everything right at your fingertips, right?
Well, how close were you to Montreal's stadium?
I could get to Montreal in 11, 12 hours, and now 10 maybe. I've left here because where I go for work, sometimes I go past Montreal by an hour and a half. So, and I can do that now. And I've left at 9 in the morning and been there at 9 nights. 12 hours. Yeah.
Wow.
12 hours. But Boston's only 6, right? Boston's 6.5 if you stop and putter. So that's for me, my local city, if it's not Halifax, which is around 1 million, but the same type of deal. It's 1 million people in Halifax, but outside there's nothing else, right? So, I mean, you're not going to have a major league. Most major league sports franchises aren't going to be there. Boston is,
right.
You're talking like there's 100 mini cities around the city of Boston. Probably St. Louis is very much the same, right?
The city of St. Louis only has like 330,000 people.
Right.
But the suburbs, there's like probably over 2 million.
There you go.
So yeah. St. Louis, I looked this up several years ago, and St. Louis and Baltimore, I think, are the only 2 big cities that separate the city and the county in the US.
Yep.
Chicago, LA, New York, it's all combined.
Considered a like regional municipality.
Yeah, so our city and our county, different governments, completely separate. If you combined them like everyone else did, St. Louis was something like the 10th biggest city in the country. But because they are separate, and St. Louis only has like 330,000 people in the city, it's like 20-something, 26 or something, biggest city.
Okay,
so it's a huge difference. Not including the county and city. And I don't know why we're like that, but it's one of those things.
And costs and stuff like that. And
yeah, it's too late to ever change it. I mean, it'll never change at this point.
Yeah.
Which in some ways is kind of a shame because it kind of hurts. It makes the city look smaller, even though it's not.
I'd like to hear more about this story. What do you think, Jeff? When I was training at XPW, Terry Funk once wrestled Sabu. There's 2 crazy guys, and he lit the branding iron on fire or was chasing people backstage with it.
I believe
it's giggles, right?
That sounds exactly like what Terry Funk would do.
So Retro obviously is a wrestler back in the day.
Yeah, wait a minute. Retro, did you wrestle professionally?
Oh my God. Scary. What the shit was scary because he wasn't laughing or anything. Looked like a madman. You just wouldn't know how to take him. No. Oh my God, the stories they tell about doing stuff like that.
That's why I love watching that Broken Skull session, because you hear the best stories of behind the scenes stuff. That's what I love.
Exactly. Like, my God, I got to say it about the Godfather one, that Charles Wright one too. I had no idea that was his status. He had pretty prominent status backstage, wouldn't you say?
He sounded like one of the leaders. Like, well, he was best friends with Undertaker, and Undertaker, from everything I've heard, he was like the guy in the locker room who
he was like he was the Godfather of the locker room.
Oh, and Retro did indie wrestling back in 2000.
I want to say one thing real quickly while I still get a chance. Mike, you did an awesome job on not only Friday night when you were on there. Everybody did an awesome job Friday night on that stream. I know there's a lot of crap going on, but Bull, it was a lot of fun was being had. It was a great time. I really enjoyed watching it, and I thought it was wonderful. But you did an absolutely fantastic job keeping that stream going on Saturday. The Miko experience at the Crayola experience and the Miko event at that. And I really enjoyed watching it. I didn't watch as long as you did. I think you watched almost the whole thing, didn't you, Jeff?
I watched Retro Bros and Mike's, the whole thing. I left like 10 minutes before Mike shut down. I didn't know when he was stopping, but I had to leave.
Yeah.
And I saw on Twitter like 10 minutes later he quit. So I pretty much watched the whole thing. You're talking like, I think I watched like 6 hours of live Amico stuff between those 2 days.
And that was Friday night was great. I sat here right where I am right now. They got the TV on over there. I flipped it around. I showed you a few minutes ago, and I put it on there. And I got a notification on my phone. Oh crap, they're streaming. So I flipped it on, and I was watching MASH or something. Imagine me watching MASH.
What?
Anyway, I got the notification, so I flipped it onto that. I probably missed the first 15 minutes, maybe, and just let it run while I worked on my video on the Intellivision retro game there. That special announcement video, which I was really honored to do. I can't think of the name. Anyway, Infiltrator. And so I said I worked and watched that all night and enjoyed that so much. And the next day, of course, for me, it was right in the middle of the day. We were going down out of town for just to do this and that. So I was making some sandwiches and stuff, and I just had the stream on watching Mike do it. It was just phenomenal job, man. I really, really appreciate what you did there. And I'm so glad that you guys had a good time. And Seth had a good time, and the anticipation of we know we really want to see this system. Are we going to like it? I think we're going to like it, but man, you finally got the confirmation, and even more important is the confirmation that the kids loved it. Right, the kids had a good time, and I don't care. It's like this is for everybody. This system, and there's things about am I going to like the kids' games? Like, no, that's not for me. But some of it is for me, and it's going to be more strong and more stable the more people love it. So I think it's a wonderful friggin' thing that it's got that kind of demographic that it's aiming to hit, and it is hitting.
What I was happiest to see, Pete, was people enjoying the controller.
Yeah,
because to me, not growing up playing an Intellivision controller, I don't know what to think of it, because this whole circle pad, it's like, what?
Yeah.
So that's what the only thing I was concerned about. Like the games, I'm not concerned about the games. There's going to be plenty of games that I'm going to like. I'm sure there's some that I won't like, but there'll be plenty I'll like. I just want to make sure that the controller works great for stuff like platformers. And I don't know. I haven't heard anyone say anything bad about it who's actually played the system.
Yeah, no, me neither. The only people who have bad things to say about it intentionally stay away and don't play it, because once they play it, they won't be able to say it anymore. Well, and it will be against their that's their modus operandi. That's their goal, is to try to.
It's like it's
clickbait.
Kind of. It's like the jig is up. It's kind of over. There's people who've played it, and then there's still people who haven't played it who are still saying, "Well, there's lag." It's like, well, you haven't played it. These guys have played it. So why would I listen to you over these people?
The latest thing they're saying is, "Oh, yeah, but that was terrible." They were swearing and drinking White Claw with kids in the room. It's like, have you lived? Have you been out of the basement? Like, people with kids still live lives. It's like people with kids. Hey. I have kids which are doing very well. It's like, and I don't know. It's just it baffles me. Like, okay, everything we've said so far is out the window, so we got to find some other straw to grasp to try to be as
it's like
miserable as we can. And it's like unbelievable. But anyway, off topic, right? Thank you, Mike, for doing that stream.
Yes, that was
back
awesome.
To your question, you asked Retro if he did if he wrestled professionally. Said did some indie wrestling back in the early 2000s in California. That's cool.
I asked him his wrestling name, and he said Wicked. Wikkid.
Oh, right on. Yes, sir. Wicked. That's a wicked name.
That is cool. Especially if you were like, really young. That sounds perfect. Wicked.
And out in California that's a good down east Massachusetts, down east Maine name. It sure is a wicked name there. Yeah. Talk like a Mainer. So, okay, here's the question. What would Papa Pete and Jeff's wrestling finishers be? I'm going to let you go first. I think I might know.
Is it something we make up or something that's we use from someone else?
I'd say you could probably steal a little bit and twist it to your own little desire, I would think.
My
to your own capabilities and to your own.
Well, if it was my own capabilities, it would be a really bad finisher. But I always liked the Stone Cold Stunner. It's because it happens so quickly, and I like there's a setup. Kick them in the gut, they flip over, you turn around, and boom. And it's one of those where no one's
be like kick him in the gut, the go, the game, the gone.
Yeah. Yes. Say it out loud, like go and game and gone.
Yeah, that's Jeff's finisher. The go game gone.
I always like that finisher too, where sometimes it looked really good, like oh my god, it looks like it killed him. And other times it's like, what? Nothing even happened. Like when Stone Cold did the stunner to Mrs. McMahon, or that she didn't come within a foot of hers.
Second where he do it was funny, some of them that could take it. The Rock, there was nobody who freaking did a stunner better than The Rock. Took a stunner better than The Rock. Because he'd go down and he would do about 6 twists and turns as he rolled and freaking went flying off against the ropes. And oh my God, he would just make it. That's cool. The go game gone.
So what would your finisher be, Pete?
Well, I was thinking about it, and it's like, I'm thinking that for me, it would have to be the top rope frog splash. Only it couldn't be a frog splash because frogs are sort of nimble and jump well. So I would call it the Papa Pete Snapping Turtle Splash. And there wouldn't be any going down and rolling off, and it would just be splat, and then we'd be there probably until the next match started.
It'd be like the beer pong. You like bounce up, then down, and bounce on.
I don't know. It sounds good to me.
See, we could do a variation of that for Retro said a tag team finisher for Pete and Jeff. Maybe we could do somewhere I'm holding the guy up, and you can do that and come over and just crush the guy and land right on him and pin him right from there. Toad splash.
Bakersfield, Porterville, Lucha shows in the Valley in California. That's cool, Retro, man. That's excellent. I love supporting and going to see indie shows, small time indie shows. I'll call it small time. There was a little promotion around this area called XWA, and it was run by what was his friggin' name? But a guy who he really kept it kayfabe too.
Thank you,
Ryan Heath, and also Dick Durning, and they sort of ran it together. They booked it. Young fellas. My son was how old was he? He was only about 12 or 13. And they came to town, and there's a fella I work with whose cousin was a wrestler. He's an older wrestler. They called him Buck 10. And we went to the little old arena here in town, and there was like 80 of us there. We were sitting in the front row, and part of the deal, they brought my kid up into the ring as his manager for the match and stuff, and he just loved it. And Connor fell in love with it. And we used to travel. They did that once to this town, but most of it was based out of St. John, which is only an hour away. And all summer long, they run in the arenas, and we drive up, and every month we go see their match and support it. And I'm telling you, you'd have 100 people there or more, and it didn't cost a whole lot of money. And it's not like they were making any money. They were doing it because they loved it. But they put on fan-friggin-tastic shows. Much more passion than you see at a lot of the professional shows nowadays. I'll tell you that. Much more entertaining.
That's an indie show, Pete. We have one in the city.
Yep.
And then I told you just recently it was announced that NWA is coming back for 4 shows at the end of August, back at the Chase Park Plaza here where they used to have the wrestling show. And I keep trying to look for it because I'm afraid what's going to happen is they're going to put the tickets on sale. I'm not going to notice, and they're going to be sold out.
Right.
Because, there's not going to be that many people there. It's going to only hold a few, I don't know, 100 people or 200 people. I don't know how much they can hold in there. It's a small area. So But I want to go to the one, the all-female one. It's a pay-per-view, I think.
Have they not started selling tickets yet, though?
Huh?
Have they not started selling the tickets for that? Mickey James is organizing that.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I keep looking, and I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. I'm going to just miss out on it, but I keep checking.
Here's one for you. Send her a message on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Hey, I got a wrestling I go on a little tiny wrestling show, but I just want to come see the show. When are your tickets available, B? You never know.
Is she from St. Louis? Because she talked about going to Wrestling at the Chase with her dad or watching it.
Well, she may be.
Like, really? I thought I looked it up. I didn't see anything about her being from here.
I'll take a look. I thought she was from like South Carolina or something myself, but doesn't mean that, maybe she grew up there and her dad.
Maybe she lived here briefly, but she talked about walking the show.
She's from Richmond, Virginia. I'll see if it says anything about St. Louis on the page, like Wikipedia page, real quick. No. How many K's in St. Louis? No, none. There's no mention of St. Louis on her Wikipedia page, so whatever that means.
I don't know what she was talking about.
Yeah.
By the way, I was brought a drink while on the show. It's pretty good.
Right on. Cheers.
Cheers.
To Go Game Gone and the Snapping Turtle Splash. And cheers to everybody watching, all in the chat. That's great. We got a great chat going tonight, too. Thank you, guys.
Lance knows everything. He says Wrestling at the Chase with Joe Garagiola. Question mark. And yet, Joe Garagiola was the first announcer for Wrestling at the Chase. But that was before my time. That was like in maybe the 60s.
Secondhand toy dealer. Thanks for stopping in.
I like that. I don't know what you were talking about tonight, but what did you think of WrestleMania 2020?
2020 or 2021?
I don't think I even saw 2020, Pete.
So 2020 was the one that they actually did. It was the first one they did with 2 nights, but there was no crowd. And there was also no Thunderdome. Okay, remember how they had the Thunderdome for the last while after that? So it was really quiet because it was really strange. Put it this way. The wrestlers, I thought, worked their asses off to put the best show as possible, as they typically always do, or most of them do. But it was pretty hard under those circumstances to really pull it off. And
I'll watch that on Peacock.
What's that?
I'll watch that on Peacock.
Exactly. It's there for sure. Well, thanks for stopping in, Secondhand Toy Lilo. Right on. Love you being here. Ha. So did you see? We just talked about this. Yeah. Okay. That would be the big splash into it. Yeah. Ha. There we go. Lance has the name for our finisher right here.
Game over.
Game over. I like it. Toad splash. Yeah. I was trying to get something a little bit bigger, a little bit more girth. Get down. I'm going to lose some girth though. I ran 5K today. I don't know how I followed around like I used to, but I did. We went for a drive down to a town down on the coast and did a 5K today. Mama C's getting me back into it. She's pretty faithful with it. She does really well. We have periods of time where we can, periods of time where we can't. We got to get back into it and drop some down. So maybe we'll take the snap and turtle splash. We'll get it back to a frog splash or a toad splash someday. But
yeah, I need to start doing the same thing, Pete, losing weight. I kept saying as soon as I move, well, here we are. We've moved.
Gigs up, buddy. Gigs up.
Right now, my exercise is moving stuff from the old place to the new place.
And on that note, there's Jericho right there. Oh, wait, I forgot the GoGameGo moved. That's right. In the new and improved GoGameGo studio.
You can't see it here, Pete, but
I see
this Asteroids Deluxe marquee. It's really hard to see.
I don't see it.
Right here, my fingers.
Oh, yeah, I see it right there. Yes, I do.
An Asteroids Deluxe marquee, the one at the top of an arcade game.
Yeah,
this box right here, and I got to get new lighting in here because the lighting is terrible. But this box right here is, I believe, the only non-gaming thing here. And it's my WKRP DVD set.
Oh, it got there, did it?
They sent it to the new place by accident.
Yeah, really. When you moved in, was there one sitting there waiting for you?
Yeah. This is where they sent the original one on accident.
Yeah. Everybody, Lance knows what we're talking about anyway. Nobody else might know what we're talking about. Herrickle probably knows too. A few of them.
Hey, someone said you're almost at 1K, and you are. You're over 900 now.
Yeah, I hit 906 the other day. It's like right on. I'm excited. I feel guilty, but I'm excited at the same time about this new series I'm going to sort of start on, because like there's a thing is called biting off more than you can chew. I love doing this. I love going on GoGameGo with you guys on Wednesday nights, once a month or so. And but I want to keep doing the 125. I want to do these homebrew ones. I want to do the pickup videos. But man, sometimes you got life and work involved in there too. It's hard to keep up with it all. But I'm not trying to neglect anything. But I'm excited about this. I really enjoy this homebrew spotlight that we're doing.
Yeah, those are cool.
Homebrew spotlight.
Because I don't think there's probably plenty of people who would be interested in them that don't even know they're around.
True. Yep. And I'm not only going to look at new things. Like that was sort of a bonus because the guy from Electronite asked me said, hey, how'd you like to do the big announcement? I've been teasing it, but let you do the big announcement of the game coming out and when it's coming. I said, friggin' right on. It's beautiful. So I got a beta. Like there's an alpha version already on Atari Age you could download and play on the original television system or on an emulator. But I got an actual beta where Carlos Madruga is the programmer of the game. Again, it's called Infiltrator, and I don't know if anybody plays original television, but it's called Infiltrator. It's based upon Metal Gear. It's kind of, I say it's influenced by Metal Gear. It's that style of stealth, puzzle solving adventure.
Oh, yeah, I saw that video. It looks really cool.
It is. It's really neat. And Carlos, who's the original programmer, won the as voted by all the Intellivision players, homebrew experts, and Intellivision experts on Atari Age, won the 2020 Inti Basic Programming Award for this game. And now he's taken it and added things to it, perfected things, expanded a little bit, increased the music, all kinds of stuff like that. And he's going to be released through Electronite with the full box, overlay, manuals, cart, everything. In like November is the goal. Of course, everything nowadays with issues with preparing cartridges and electronic circuit boards and such is, it's touchy, as we've seen in many different aspects, from vehicles to all kinds of video games. But anyway, the goal is November. So I don't know if anybody here listening is big in television homebrew games like I am. You look over my shoulder. I got a lot of them still up from when I did my video homebrew games and such. But that's one of my videos that one of the series that I'm working on. And the first one for the Inti Homebrew Spotlight was the announcement of this game being released in November. So there'll be more to follow of games that I have just for promotion of games that are already out and reviews. So looking forward to that. Anyway, yeah.
Very good.
What's the Power and Glory finisher? I don't remember.
I don't know.
Maybe it says it later on. I remember Power. Do you remember Power and Glory?
No.
Wasn't Power and Glory was Paul Roma and I can picture him. Somebody typed in, I'm not even down to, I'm sort of way back a ways in the chat too. Yes, Born Distracted. The thing is, we haven't really talked. We're an hour and 40 minutes in. We haven't really talked about Terry Funk a whole lot yet either. Get her down here. There we go. Old podcast called Titans of Wrestling. They mainly covered the WW. Oh, that would be cool. I like that stuff. I love the Stampede Wrestling and the old WWF. I can remember watching that when I was a kid. Wish I could have had access to more, but
yeah, I like that. I like Bob Backlund. He was still a champ when I started watching WWF.
Okay, yep.
And he was a good guy, but what I liked about him was he would fight dirty sometimes.
Well, are you talking back in the old days or the newer days? like the 90s. He came back in the 90s and he was a bit of a wingnut. No, there's no bit of a wingnut. He was a friggin' crazy man.
Older. I mean, a lot of the the good guys, they refuse to do anything that isn't within the rules, and Backlund's he would every so often.
Yeah. So we talked about a lot about Paul Orndorff at the beginning, and I was saying about Terry Funk as well. And I wanted to find I meant to find that tweet. But so how many WrestleManias was Terry Funk in?
Man, I have no clue.
Oh shoot, I lost it.
Yeah, Terry and Dory Funk wrestled here in St. Louis a lot. You know what I've noticed, listening to other wrestlers talk, is they all say that Terry Funk was like a great worker. They all love him. And they're like, Dory, not so much.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't think Dory Funk, he stopped wrestling a long time ago, didn't he?
Oh,
did he stop wrestling? What's that?
Is Dory still alive?
I don't know, but didn't he get out of wrestling before Terry Funk? I feel like Terry Funk lasted longer. It could be wrong.
God, yeah, I think so. I really do. I'm trying to scramble here. Just 1 second.
Lance said, did anyone see the match when Bob Backlund had the cardboard belt made by kids? That's hilarious.
I don't remember that at all. Like, are you talking, Lance, was that in his original days, or?
He wrestled Johnny Rods, and it's on YouTube.
Okay. Okay, so how many WrestleManias was Terry Funk in? Guesses from the chat.
Let's see if anyone in chat can get this, because I have no idea. I don't remember even seeing him.
Well, the first one was, I think we talked about a little bit, WrestleMania 2. Okay.
I've seen 2. I don't remember. Who did he wrestle?
He and Dory out in California. So it was towards the end. They wrestled Junkyard Dog and Tito Santana.
Oh, what a matchup
and
that
won. Is. And they won. Which,
wow.
I mean, at the time, JYD and Tito were, big WWF names, but frankly, the Funks are pretty big names in Texas. So probably part of the deal of them coming in to do that, because they had to bring in wrestlers from all over to fill 3 different cards, right? So they probably had to give them the win. But Terry looks pretty young in that one. That was 1980. Well, that was 85. 86.
Oh, well, I don't remember that match. I watched it because I remember I didn't like it. I didn't like that WrestleMania. I didn't like the all spread all over and different locations.
No.
Like, I didn't even like the last one where they had it in 2 days.
The last 2, they've done that now, too.
Yeah, just do it in 1 day. That's a lot of a commitment there to watch like 6 hours of wrestling on a weekend.
Well, here's the problem, is they went to 2 days because of complaints about it being too long in 1 day. It started off as all pay-per-views are 2 hours. Then it went to 3 hours. WrestleManias were 3 hours. Then all of a sudden the WrestleManias were 4 hours. And I watched a couple that were like 8 o'clock, my time starting, and they weren't getting over till 1:30 in the morning. And it was just too much in one night. And what they were finding is that people were exhausted. There was one, when was it? If I'm not mistaken, they had one in East Rutherford, New Jersey recently that was stupid long, right? By the time it got over, nobody could get a bus or a cab home. So it caused a big major frigging problem for logistically, because everybody's stuck over in New Jersey and they couldn't get back to the city. I don't know why that comes to mind.
Why can't they get it done in like 3.5 hours? I mean, it'd be the same as watching a ball game.
the reason is that they have so much of an obligation to all the different wrestlers. They have such a big roster now to get them all a spot in WrestleMania to get that big payday. And it's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, look at WrestleMania 4, our very first show. We talked about WrestleMania 4. What do you think that Battle Royal at the beginning was all about, right? It was to get everybody a WrestleMania payday, all these other mid and lower card guys, to give them a spot, because the Bret Harts and the Bad News Allens or Bad News Browns, they needed a spot, right?
Well, maybe that's what they can do. You know, have all the top guys wrestle and then take everyone else and just do a battle royale with them.
But they already do that with the Andre the Giant Battle Royale. It's like, it's crazy the people they have there now, and men and women now too, right? Like back then, there was no women, none. They had like 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Moolah, and let's have a women's division for a half hour. We'll bring in, and now they have a women's division, which is not as big as the men's division, but it's still, how many would there be? Would there be 15, 16? Well, they all want a spot too. And I'll tell you the truth, 3/4 of the time, I'd rather watch them wrestle because they do a better job.
I think they're really good. Did you see Bailey's out for 9 months?
I did. And what happened there? Like, is that something happened after the last pay-per-view, or?
They said she was hurt in a training, or was it?
Okay.
Or was it they practicing for a match? I can't remember. But yeah, that's a long time.
Oh, I know. It's like, yeah. I don't know. But any kind of injury now, I mean, think about the physicality of what they're trying to do. I mean, any sort of injury is going to be long, friggin', it's going to be brutal. Anyway.
Both her and Sasha Banks have Broken Skull Sessions episodes.
Who does? Bailey too?
Bailey and Sasha Banks, yeah.
I gotta check them out. I obviously haven't seen nearly enough of those. So just the answer, Terry Funk. I was gonna look that up too, but WrestleMania 14, Chainsaw Charlie and Cactus Jack wrestled the New Age Outlaws in a dumpster match, beat them for the WWF Tag Team Championship.
Dumpster match.
And I remember that one too, man. That was good. When he came out, like, I don't know if were you watching it? You probably were not watching it at that time when, I mean, this is after Mankind had been around for a while. All of a sudden he come out, he turned into Cactus Jack. I'm going to bring out this guy and he's going to help me kick your ass. And then this Chainsaw Charlie comes out with a pantyhose over his head, swinging a chainsaw. It's like, who the hell is that? I had no idea. I didn't know Terry Funk really at the time. I mean, I just didn't know. And it was right after ECW finished, I believe, or about the time ECW was finishing up, because Terry Funk was champion ECW at one point too. Yeah, but Chainsaw Charlie was friggin' Terry Funk. And that became known after a while. It didn't stick around real long, but it was a really friggin' neat gimmick, I thought. I really enjoyed that anyway. Oh, there's Caper Dave.
Caper Dave. You snuck in right before the end, Caper Dave.
Man, working for some OT? Don't blame me. I need to put a little money in the bank to go watch more wrestling, right? Got to pay for the pay-per-views. Right on.
There's a pay-per-view coming up, isn't it? This weekend?
Is it this weekend? I really don't know. I'm going to be quite honest. I mean, I would rather talk about WrestleMania 14 all night as opposed to watch anything from modern day. I'd rather watch the Broken Skull Session than turn on Monday Night Raw right now. I mean, I shouldn't crap on it like that because I do still enjoy it to a degree, but and I will watch it Sunday night if I can, but I don't even know what's going on, Jeff. Do you?
No. I mean, I watch them because I'm trying to catch up.
Yeah.
And I've been watching a lot of YouTube stuff on the era that I missed that you were just mentioning. So I missed a lot of Mick Foley, Steve Austin. I've been watching lots of YouTube videos on those and actually having a lot of fun watching them.
Yeah. It's great.
That was a great era. I wish I would have been paying attention to them.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How is it we can turn on and watch YouTube videos of all these matches to keep up to date? Are they WWE YouTube videos?
I don't know. To be honest, I'm not sure. I didn't bother to check.
because we put the very first episode, we put the friggin' scene of looking at the Trump Tower in through like just a screenshot to show how many people were at the Trump Plaza that day watching WrestleMania 4. Didn't even show wrestling.
I guess it has to be official because, I mean, I've watched so many. I've been watching like a lot of the goofy Stone Cold stuff where he was torturing Vince McMahon and his family. There's all kind of videos on that. just I don't know, just something that's just so comical about it. It looks like he was having the best time of his life during that time period doing that stuff. Driving a Zamboni into the arena, filling his car full of cement.
Okay, this is to answer Lance's point. Okay, I reach it over onto the, I didn't have to get out of my seat. There's 2 packs and 2 complete sets of 80s WWF cards.
Oh my gosh, look at those. This is awesome.
Yeah, I got those a while back. And actually, if you go back and look on my YouTube channel, I'll promote my YouTube channel. This is my YouTube channel. I actually did, I don't know if I call them reviews or what, but of those 2 sets right there, and I go through those sets. It's kind of neat. They're like 10-minute videos or something like that, 10, 12-minute, where I go through that set and talk about all the characters that are in those 2 wrestling sets. So check that out sometime. It's kind of neat. I don't know why I did it. It was like, sometimes you just want to go, oh my God, I remember those wrestling cards in the 80s. Well, here they are. Here we go through them all. We talk a little bit about them. It was pretty cool.
It's cool.
So, they've been sitting there ever since. I bought a few packs on eBay, right? Yeah. So I thought since Mr. Wonderful, we got about 5 minutes left here, baby. What time is it? Yeah, 5-10 minutes. Since I got a little quiz for the chat. We got a few. Ty Lord's still there. Got Lance. I don't know who's all there. That's great. Well, I get a little bit of see the first ones that come up with the answer. Now, we did this the other day. With the day we had CM Retro on, we did it after the fact. We were looking at this, just shooting the breeze after we were talking about wrestling there about a month ago. And I hauled out my book, World Wrestling Entertainment Trivia Book, the ultimate WWE trivia book. And in honor of Mr. Perfect, no, not Mr. Perfect, sorry, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff, headliner, main event in WrestleMania 1. Let's look at some of the questions and let's see in the chat. Don't Google it right off, but let's see what you can get. See who the first one that can get it right is. Jeff, you might know some of these answers, so actually you pipe in too. What was the date of the first WrestleMania? And here are the questions. Here are the answers. March 17th, 85, March 31st, 85, March 23rd, 86, or April 4th, 1990.
First WrestleMania?
First WrestleMania. The date of the first WrestleMania. March 17th, 85. March 31st, 85. March 23rd, 86. Or April 4th, 1990. We've talked about this a little bit tonight, so you probably should be able to get the year, I would think. There we go. I've got the answer key here now, too. March 85. Lance, okay, but is it March 17th or March 31st? There's 2 different March 85s there. So 17th or 31st. And actually, we mentioned this earlier today. We were talking about one of the shows that was a Saturday main event that Paul, Mr. Wonderful Orndorff, and Hulk Hogan fought the Moondogs.
Yes.
And it was June of 86. And I said, well, that makes sense because it was right after, or was it 85? Whatever. It was right after WrestleMania. And I had said, because that's always held when?
You said April, didn't you?
It's always held at the very end of March or the very beginning of April. And it still is to this day. So March 31st, 85.
Really? It was March. Why did I think WrestleMania was 86 in April? I thought I was a senior in high school. I guess I was a junior in high school.
Wow. I was I was still in high school. I was in grade 12. 12th grade. 12th grade I was in that year.
So you're a senior.
Yep. All right. So next one. True or false? The inaugural pay-per-view. So the inaugural WrestleMania was seen on pay-per-view. Yes, it was. Do you remember that, Jeff? That question?
Yeah. Yeah, I know the answer to this one. It was not pay-per-view.
It was not pay-per-view. Right? It was
closed circuit.
Closed circuit TV, seen by over 1 million people on closed circuit TV.
How great were Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura?
They had their unique style, which will never be duplicated.
Do you have any idea why Ventura always referred to Monsoon as Gino? Because it's not his real name.
I thought it was his middle name or something like that.
I looked up his name because Gorilla Monsoon. Wait, let me look it up again. Oh, I was like, why are you calling him Gino?
Lance got it too, right on. Yeah. I think that's just a delay in the text, in the message coming in.
Yeah, his name is Robert James Morella.
Well, what's it, Gino? Gino must have been a nickname or something they called it. Why was it then?
I have no idea why he called him Gino.
I think it had to have been his nickname. Like that he was, a lot of people called him Gino, I believe. Huh. Gino Morella. Because I've heard Gino Morella many, many times, quoted many times.
Okay.
Gino Morella.
I guess that's just what he went by.
Yeah. All right. I think we're going to go with just a couple more questions. And we'll call it tonight. But let's hear if you know what was the first match in WrestleMania history. And I'm not going to give you guys the choices. Not yet, anyway. Do you remember?
Yes. I'm trying to think of the one guy's name. I know his real wrestling name. I can't think of his. What was it then? One guy had a mask.
Yes.
Oh, what was his name though? It was Buddy Rose, correct? But
yes.
That wasn't his name.
That's right.
What was it? Was it the Assassin?
Close. I'm not getting any comments from the chat.
Was it Masked Assassin?
Nope. Wasn't the Assassin.
Tito Santana, right?
Yep. Tito Santana versus Playboy Buddy Rose. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The Executioner.
Executioner.
Yeah. That was the very first match in WrestleMania history. And who won? Tito Santana.
We beat him pretty soundly, too.
Yeah, right on. Caper Dave, right on. You're there.
Was that Buddy Rose's only appearance in the WrestleMania?
I would say yes. I can't think of another instance.
How did he get in there? He wrestled on the West Coast mainly, didn't he? In the Portland area?
I think he was all over. Because I'd heard of him, and if he was just up in that area, I wouldn't have necessarily heard of him. And I've heard of Playboy Buddy Rose.
Well, that's true. I mean, I knew who he was growing up, but I'm trying to think what. Because on YouTube, they have a lot of Portland wrestling, and Buddy Rose is always in those. I'm trying to think where he would have wrestled that I would have seen him.
You don't know. I think he toured around like a lot of them did.
Gorilla Monsoon was part owner of the WWF?
Wow. Yep. 3 paydays in one night. I did
Gino
not
was
know
doing
that.
all right.
King in Portland wrestled Bob Backlund a lot. Yeah, that's cool.
Jesse Ventura, I think he said his biggest payday ever in wrestling was as an announcer.
Oh, really?
It may have been one of the WrestleManias, or
Without a doubt.
I think it was something else, another big event. But he said he loved it because he said he made a ton of money.
Yeah,
and he didn't have to get beat up,
precisely.
and he didn't travel as much either. They just did big events. He wasn't traveling every stinking day.
How much money did Andre the Giant win in the Body Slam Challenge against Big John Studd? The answers are 5,000, 15,000, 1 million, or 1,000.
All right, I know. I had two numbers. I couldn't remember which one, but only one of the numbers I was thinking of appeared in that list.
You remember
he
Caper Dave?
He didn't get any of it. Remember, he was throwing it to the crowd, and then Heenan came up and grabbed the bag away from him.
That's right. The brain came and took it back from him.
And that bag was such a it was such a cheap little bag.
Yeah, piece of crap little canvas WWF bag.
It looked like they went and bought it at the concession stand right before the match.
Exactly.
I was thinking, you're going to stuff all that money in that cheapo sack. They couldn't have got you something a little bit better.
Caper Dave thinks 5,000. It is not.
No.
It is $15,000. $15,000 slam match. All right, just a couple more we'll call tonight. How long did it take King Kong Bundy to beat SD Jones at the inaugural WrestleMania?
Wait, in reality or what they officially said?
Officially said.
Hold on 1 second, Pete. I'm going to grab something. Yeah, I know this one because I remember them saying it, and I was like, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
It was like 3 times longer than that.
Yes, sir. Still gets Ventura sued McMahon over royalties and won at the Supreme Court. Still gets money from Coliseum videos. McMahon had claimed he never paid royalties. He paid Hogan and Mr. T royalties, so Ventura won. Absolutely. All right. Okay, I'm going to give you the answers now, too, because you guys are close. The answers are 1 minute, 9 seconds, 37 seconds, or 14 minutes and 59 seconds. So we got Caper Dave has guessed 7 seconds, and Lance has guessed 16 seconds. So I'm going to give it to Caper Dave because the correct answer
2 seconds off.
9 seconds. There you go. Yep, 9 seconds, Dave. All right.
Remember that match, though? I think it was supposed to be 9 seconds, but it was like 23 seconds. SC Jones messed up a move, and he caused the match to go a little bit longer. So I think it was supposed to be 9 seconds. Like, I think they had that written in 9 seconds.
Yeah.
And Jones messed up something. So I think they just stuck with the 9 seconds, even though it was clearly way longer than 9 seconds.
He didn't go down properly after the avalanche or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was in the wrong spot. Yeah, he didn't fall down the right spot. So he had to do it again.
All right. Last question. Last question we'll call tonight. Who was Roddy Piper's tag team partner for the first WrestleMania?
It was not Terry Funk.
It was not Terry Funk. Name 3 people who have never been in my kitchen.
Oh, somebody's going to get a Cliff Clavin joke in there.
Oh, yeah. Got to get a Cliff Clavin joke in there somewhere, yeah. Mr. Wonderful, Paul Orndorff, Caper Dave for the win. So that's why we'll end it tonight. Very appropriate.
Knocked out by Bob Orton's cast.
That's right.
That he wore for about 3 years.
Turned into one of the best friggin' they turned that whole thing into one of the best programs over the next year and a half with Mr. Wonderful turning face and then turning heel on Hogan again. So anyway, that's a great way to end the night. Tribute to Mr. Wonderful and more with Mr. Wonderful. He passed away yesterday, and what a great wrestler. Yeah, he'll be missed. He'll be missed by the entire community because he meant a lot, not only in his wrestling days, but after the fact. He was so influential in the career development of dozens and dozens, if not hundreds, of other wrestlers afterwards. And also Terry Funk. I didn't get a chance to go on. If you're interested, go on Twitter, check out Mick Foley. A couple days he posted a little tribute on Twitter, which is just a short little read, but it's very poignant and very from the heart, I guess, from Mick, who you got to have respect for Mick Foley, man, because, I mean, I don't know if you've read any of his books. Here's this guy who's made a living by being a professional wrestler in the most extreme fashion possible, yet he's the most articulate, well thought out, educated person that you're ever going to meet or read of all the books I've ever read. His are absolutely phenomenal. And so I got a lot of respect for him as well. And what Terry Funk means to him is significant, and sad to see that Terry Funk is battling dementia and is still with us, but is just not doing all that well. So anyway,
had, the death matches in Japan, several didn't they have several death matches in Japan?
Oh yeah,
Foley and Funk.
And maybe someday I'll look around, see if I can find some video of that. I actually, back in the day of like, I don't know if to call it Usenet or where the blazes it was that I was finding stuff. But I actually ordered a videotape from somebody one time of one of these. It was one of these things where you just got to find somebody's copied it over into a videotape. You buy it from them for $20 or something. And I have it here somewhere. This video of this death match tournament, and of which Terry Funk and Mick Foley or Cactus Jack were in the finals. And it's incredible. You know, it's really kind of incredible. This is what these men did to their bodies. So, whatever. It was all in the name of entertainment. People loved it over in Japan. People love it here. Look at Nick Gage. I played my Bret Hart one tonight, but I got my Nick Gage cameo too, right? What did you think of that one, Jeff? The Nick Gage one.
That was great.
It was great. Maybe next time out in a couple weeks, I'll play the Nick Gage one again. Anyway, guys, thank you, Jeff, again for being on tonight. Really enjoyed the conversation and looking back at these guys and just wrestling in general from back in those days.
I always love coming on your channel, Pete.
Thank you. And thank you to everybody in the chat. Great time. And Caper Dave, no overtime. Got to be earlier next time, right? Anyway, guys, thanks a lot. We're signing off. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Next week, I'll be back with a stream or something. Watch the channel and check out my channel for other videos. Check out GoGameGo. They're on tomorrow night.
On tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. Open chat.
That's 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock PPP and Caper Dave time. So
we'll be rambling on about who knows what.
You may even get a visit from Billy Joel, but that's a story for tomorrow night.
We definitely will.
All right. Take care, guys.
All right. See you guys.